Does anxiety originate in our gut? More with Charles Spence. This week, it's about health and food technology tricks. And it's time to update the supermarket in the year 2000 and our first ever contest. For June 1st, 2011, this is Food News Today. Good morning. Immediately following Food News Today, we continue with a live discussion in our chat room below. I hope you'll sign in and join us. Food News Today is sponsored by ConAgra Foods, who shares with me the desire to provide the most current, interesting, and unbiased food news. First up, let's answer a question that I've been getting a lot of emails about. It's all about meat and DNA labeling. In fact, what's happening is restaurants now around the country and in Canada are buying meat that has the DNA identified. You might say, why? Well, it's real easy. It's all about food safety. And one of the questions that I've been getting a lot of is, will this go to supermarkets? Are we going to be able to go into a supermarket and buy a package of meat and have the DNA identified? I think not. I think from a food safety standpoint, where it's hidden and in restaurants and it's not something that we think about, I think it'll work terrifically. But when it comes to the supermarket, I think from a lot of the emails that I'm getting, people just think that it's a little too scientific. In health and wellness, it's all in your head might not be as true as we're led to believe. And that gut feeling may be truer than ever. A new study that was recently published in the journal Gastroenterology from researchers at McMaster University and Michael G. DeGroot School of Medicine found that bacteria in the gut can influence brain chemistry and behaviors. In recent years, researchers have increasingly identified the role that our gut can have on mood and behavior, leading many scientists to nickname our gut as the second brain. Now, a little bit about our gut. Our digestive system in a healthy body contains around 1,000 trillion bacteria, as well as around 100 million neurons, which are nerve cells. Neurons in our digestive system also use serotonin to send signals to the brain. 95% of all serotonin in our body is actually contained in our gut. Researchers worked with mice and altered the bacteria in their guts by administering antibiotics. They found that after giving the mice antibiotics, there was a marked change in their behavior. The mice became less cautious and anxious. The researchers also noted an increase in the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a chemical linked to depression and anxiety. When antibiotics were discontinued, the mice returned to their normal behavior and brain chemistry as their digestive system bacteria returned to normal. Now, to test their results, the researchers colonized normal mice with bacteria taken from mice with a different behavioral pattern. They found that when the mice with a genetic background associated with passive behavior were colonized with bacteria from mice with higher exploratory behaviors, they became more active and daring. The same results were observed for the reverse situation. Building from there, researchers have found conclusive evidence that conditions such as anxiety can actually begin in the gut instead of in the brain. The research also indicates that while many factors do determine behavior, the nature of the bacteria in the gut appears to influence behavior, and disruptions may produce behavioral changes. Maintaining a healthy digestive system, including a healthy intestinal flora mix, could be a key in helping to prevent and control anxiety. And by the way, let's not forget that many foods, in addition to yogurts and other dairy products, contain probiotics, like homemade sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, raw miso, and kombucha. Back to Oxford to chat with Charles Spence, an experimental psychologist at the University of Oxford Cross-Modal Research Laboratory. Listen how our senses influence our perception of a food's healthfulness and how brands are using this information to influence or change what we buy. So Charles, last week we talked a lot about sound. What about color? Does the color of certain foods have any effect?
And to give you some examples of how that might work, if one has a product that was where one wants to reduce the sugar content to help with the obesity crisis, then using colors intelligently can help. And it turns out that in nature, say, as fruits ripen, they go from green to orange through to red. And our brains have kind of picked up on that correlation. And so whenever you color a food with the appropriate shade or hue of red, it can actually deliver a drink that tastes to consumers about 11% sweeter than another drink that's got the wrong colour. And so you can have people with two drinks side by side, and you say, which one's sweeter, or are they the same? And they'll say, yes, that red drink's just as sweet as that kind of clear drink over there on the other side. And it turns out the red drink has 11% less sugar, but is judged perceptually as being just as sweet. So that's a real potentially huge saving and health benefit, both for younger consumers, but especially for the aging population. And colour, it's possible to use the appropriate reds, a very good way of inducing sweetness, and hence keeping the consumer's experience as constant as possible, while at the same time trying to reduce the sugar.
So I get it. You know, when it comes to packaging food and selling food, it's about color and smell and sound and shape and all those. What can a supermarket do to build on that research?
I think there are things that can be done, lots of things. All about creating that great experience, and I think there are some kind of supermarkets out there who do a great job already, like Le Bon Marché. I think in Paris has this great store with, you walk in and it smells, you can smell all those fruits and vegetables, they're all out there to be touched, so you're engaging both the sense of smell, the sense of touch straight off. One can use, and we're doing some work with a kind of an auditory branding agency here in London at the moment, looking at environmental soundscapes. So not only changing people's choice about whether they buy French or German wine this week by playing umpire music or French accordion music, that has been done. But if you want to move people towards more healthy choices, say, what would listening to the sound of the seaside, the seagulls, the waves crashing on the beach, would that get people, move people towards buying seafood, a healthier option, say, than many other kinds of meat that they might purchase? Or people who've just experimented just with the sound, saying, what can we do if we change the music, the tempo? What can we do if we release fragrance in store or at the front of the store, say? Will that attract more people in? Will they want to stay for longer? Will that change the sorts of choices that they make? Others who might just do taste tests, say, how much of an influence does giving people a little taste of this healthy food rather than some other product have? So they're engaging the sense of taste as well as smell, as well as touch. I mean, one has to be sort of careful in the way one does it, because consumers don't like to feel that they're being manipulated. But if I said, well, I've got this fragrance we can release in store, and people will spend a lot more, and I've got out, then the company concerned will be in a great deal of trouble. So in a way, what we're trying to do, I guess, is help companies and supermarkets to create more engaging experiences, places where people want to shop, so they can try things out, where they want to pick up this package because it sounds different, it feels different, it feels kind of some sort of plastics now that feel kind of so soft that they're sort of sexy. So products that people want to interact with, and a multi-sensory environment. And I think the biggest benefits will come from the kind of systematic engaging of all the consumer senses to kind of create that great atmosphere.
Thank you, Charles. And it really points out that not only is nutrition a new science, but all of food and food development is a new science, and we're going to have a lot more exciting changes ahead. In Extreme Retail, our update on the supermarket in the year 2000. But first, here's our contest. Now, here's a painting created by Frederick Hoffer after he read my predictions of just how a supermarket would look and what their offerings might be in the year 2000. So here's the contest. It's fashioned after Where's Waldo. And let me say up front, this is not my idea. This is all Tony and Amanda, not me. Find me in the market, and you can win a copy of Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise, a copy of our public television special Food Sense on DVD, and a Supermarket Guru tote bag. All of those that correctly identifies my location on the photo will be entered to win through a random drawing. Now, look under the information links and click on In the Year 2000. That will take you to our Flickr page. There's also a link with an image with a grid, so look close and carefully. I might not be who you first think. I could be sitting, standing, driving, or even serving a customer from behind a counter. Just email me, phil@supermarketguru.com, with the coordinates of the location you believe I'm in to be entered. Oh, and for those of you who are not watching this video live, just go to supermarketguru.com and look in the news for the link to the image. So let's get back to the year 2000. In 1988, 23 years ago, I imagined how the concept of the supermarket would change for the new millennium. It may have taken over 10 years longer than I thought, but we're now starting to see evidence of this evolution becoming becoming mainstream. Here's a couple examples. First one from Fox News featured the growing food cart phenomenon in Portland, Oregon, where since 2007 the number of gourmet food vendors meeting up in food pods has doubled. The city has over 200 carts operating at any given time, and food enthusiasts can obtain maps to navigate through the choices. It's an economical way for budding chefs, restaurateurs, and food entrepreneurs to set up their show with little overhead, little to no staff, and city permits are cheap. It's a food experience. Another adventurous food experience in San Francisco and spreading to other cities, where chefs and food vendors meet up in underground markets at night for what the New York Times describes as an indie food rave. And like we've seen with food trucks, Twitter, Facebook, and the food blogs are the vehicle for getting the word out about locations and times. Shopping in a supermarket has to offer both a great experience as well as the excitement within the store. The fact that farmers markets in the U.S. have grown 214% since the year 2000 is even more evidence that shoppers love a place where they can stroll from a smokehouse, where they can watch live, highly skilled butchers prepare fresh meats, and then cruise on over to a sommelier who's hosting wine tastings and educating them, or even making a stop at a sushi chef's counter and then browsing a selection of local artisan cheeses. It's time to celebrate our foods. For Food News Today, I'm Phil Lempert. Thanks for joining us. If you have a colleague in retailing, the media, or a blogger who would also like to receive our advanced email, please ask them to visit foodnewstoday.com to sign up for the link. Next week's stories will be in your Tuesday email. Have a great week.